Woman.
Good. How are you?
Good.
We are now live. We'll just wait a couple moments as the public joins the meeting. All right, and we will begin. I would like to call this meeting to order. And the notice requirement provided for the Open Public Meetings Law has been satisfied. Notice was properly given. Said notice having been transmitted to the Courier News on December 28, 2020, as well as posting the notice of this video conference on the bulletin board in the city clerk's office. We will begin with the reading of the certifications of election. The Board of County Canvassers of Union County does hereby determine that at an election held in the said county on the 3rd day of November in the year 2020, Charles McCray was duly elected 3rd Ward Councilman for a 4-year term in the city of Plainfield. Mr. McCray, are you prepared to take the oath of office as the 3rd Ward Councilman?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Swearing in Mr. McCray will be the Honorable Mayor Adrian O'Mapp. Mayor?
Well, thank you. Mr. McCray, if you will get hold of a Bible, and I take it that there's someone there.
No,
It's just you. Okay.
it's me.
All right. So place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right.
Done.
And let's begin.
Yes.
I state your name.
I, Charles McCray,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all of the duties of the office of
all the duties of the office of
Councilman,
Councilman,
3rd Ward, City of Plainfield,
3rd Ward, City of Plainfield,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established within the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Counselor.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Hey, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. The Board of County Canvassers of Union County does hereby determine that at an election held in the said county on the 3rd day of November in the year 2020, Steve G. Hockaday, Esquire, was duly elected Councilman at Large for a 4-year term in the city of Plainfield. The oath of office will be administered by Assemblywoman Linda Carter, representing the 22nd Legislative District.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor Mapp, Plainfield City Council members, and all that are in attendance this evening. On behalf of my colleagues, Senator Nick Scutari, Assemblyman Jim Kennedy, and myself, representing Legislative District 22, I bring greetings to all of you, and I'm proud to be able to stand here to swear in Mr. Steve Hockaday to an at-large position here on the Plainfield City Council. Happy New Year, everyone. Councilman Hockaday, do you have a Bible near you?
Do.
Please place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Steve Hockaday,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all of the duties of
all of the duties of
the office of Councilman at Large, City of Plainfield,
the office of Councilman at Large, City of Plainfield,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I bear true faith
and I bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States and in this state
in the United States and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Councilman at Large, Steve Hockaday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. I will now call the roll for the 2021 Plainfield City Council. Council members Davis,
Present.
Councilman Good,
Present.
Councilman Hockaday,
Here.
Councilman McKenna,
Present.
Councilman McCray,
Present.
Councilwoman Mills Ransom. Can't hear you, Councilwoman Mills Ransom. Say-
Present, something's wrong with the thing.
Thank you. The 2021 Plainfield City Council is officially in session. And we now come to the election of the 2021 Plainfield City Council President. The floor is now open for nominations for 2021 Plainfield City Council President.
Mr. Clerk, I'd like to take the opportunity right now to nominate Steve Gary Hockaday.
Is there a second?
Mr. Clark, I would like to second the nomination.
Councilman, are there any other nominations? Okay, I'll call the roll on the nomination of Councilman Steve Hockaday to serve as the 2021 Plainfield City Council President. Council members Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Good,
Yes.
Councilman Hockaday,
Yes.
Yes.
Councilman McCray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mills Ransom.
Yes.
That is unanimous. I now declare Councilman Steve Hockaday Council President for the year 2021. Congratulations, Councilman. Councilman, would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? Place your left hand on the Bible. I state your name,
I, Steve Hockaday,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
partially,
impartially,
justly perform
and justly perform
all of the duties
all of the duties
of the office of Council President, City of Plainfield,
of the office of Council President, City of Plainfield,
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Councilman. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. So first and foremost, thank you to my colleagues for trusting me with the gavel this year, year 2021. Year 2020 was an incredibly challenging year for us all, for all of humanity actually, but especially in cities like Plainfield, primarily composed of Black and brown faces who received the brunt of the impact of this global coronavirus, as well as it exacerbated pandemics that already existed in our communities. You know, we were dealing with pandemics of unemployment, pandemic of police brutality, the pandemic of economic disparity. These are all things that we need to continue to work on, because even when coronavirus goes away, we know that those things will be there, as well as the health disparities that exist in our country, but specifically in our towns. We suffered greatly from 2020. But as a council, we responded the best that we could, despite everything that flew in our face and the things that happened this year. You know, regarding police brutality that we saw going on, we supported the George Floyd Commission to review our police policies. And there's still more work to be done. But it just goes to show that where the heart is in all of our council individuals and the administration, that we would make sure that we get ahead and be proactive in taking care of our individuals in our city and make sure that we're leading the way as a Black and brown city. Our council members were also ambassadors of our city. It was a joy to watch the council members work and interact in their wards and at the city at large, whether it's on social media or in person or offering a helping hand at a food drive. Our council members were extremely active this year, doing the work of the people. So I was proud to be counted amongst you all, and it was really just a joy to serve, and look forward to doing that again as council president and councilman at large, supporting you all. Also administratively, we did our job as well, you know, especially with providing a 0% increase in taxes. All of our council members worked really hard to provide input that permitted us to provide that 0% increase, which we haven't done as long as I can remember. So I'm happy to see that we are not only moving and shaking in our communities, but also handling our business in our meetings. And you know, I also have to commend the administration as well. And we were happy to partner with them and all the great things that they were doing, continuing to develop the city, continuing to break ground and attract investment in our city, continuing to provide assistance to homeowners or provide home ownership assistance to prospective homeowners, people moving to Plainfield, as well as the enormous job that our Department of Health did contact tracing as it related to COVID-19. Just an enormous job where I'm sure they all had to put in overtime, as well as our first responders who showed up and showed out, you know, just letting us know we made a wonderful decision to keep them on and have Plainfield homegrown people providing those services. You know, I'm just really excited to be here. This is a wonderful city with enormous beauty and even more potential. And in a word, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to make it through 2020. Although, you know, time is a continuum. You know, our issues don't end when the 20 turns to 21. We have to continue to work and grind and do what we can to just move the needle forward in terms of humanity. But overall, I'm grateful to live in a city where the residents and its government can proudly proclaim that Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. You know, but do they really? You know, watching the events today, I can't help but think about, you know, what would have happened if there were Black and brown faces storming the Capitol. You know, many of you probably have been watching the extraordinary scene in Washington as thousands of rioters took over the nation's capital in an attempt to stop the certification of a duly elected president. This insurrection in some ways is a manifestation of the ongoing assaults on our democracy that we've seen over the last few years through this horrible, deplorable administration that is on its way out, but not soon enough. You know, I'd actually support his immediate removal because it's clear that he's unable to do his job. And this looks like to me like an insurrection against his own government. I wish I had the position to state that, but in my limited position as council president, I would so state something like that. You know, as we watch this travesty, I can't help really to think about what happened if there were Black and brown people. I think that there would be many more lives than the unfortunate life that we already know was taken down there. I'm not sure if she was a rioter but you know, no loss of life should happen during a peaceful transition of power. You know, just imagine, and the scene brings, you know, stark relief of the underlying dynamics of this assault. And this attack on our democracy is an attack on our changing demographics. We know that Black and brown people are becoming the majority and will be that type of nation at some point. And it seems as though this is like a last gasp of a cling to power of individuals who just do not want racial justice or an inclusive democracy, you know. But there was a bright line in all of this yesterday with in Georgia, where they pulled through with both of the Senate seats, which we will now have a minority leader, Mitch McConnell, and demote him. We have the first Black senator in the southern state of Georgia. You know, that is certainly the silver lining of all this. You know, but it pains me to see that it had to end in violence, or that people have to die for democracy in a situation like this. You know, but you know, the bottom line is that we must not forget, but we have to move on and use this day as inspiration for our ongoing work to expand our democracy and achieve justice. All right, so as your council president, I promise to keep my eye on the ball to make sure that we not only do not perpetuate all these disparities that we know exist in our country, but also to work to proactively reverse them. So whether you're a council person that sits on this dais, a resident in this community with bright ideas and an activism mindset, or the mayor of this great city, if you have ideas to help our people and to help our residents, I'm willing to steer this council towards that restorative justice. So with that said, I'd like to thank again my colleagues for trusting in me, and we'll get the business of the meeting started. So the floor is now open for nominations for the 2021 Vice President.
Mr. President,
Yes, Councilwoman Mills Ransom.
I would like to nominate Councilman Barry N. Good.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Clerk, can you have a roll call? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, clerk, may we have a roll call?
Council President, this is a roll call on the nomination of Barry N. Good to serve as Vice President for the year 2021. Council members Davis,
Yes.
Councilman McKenna,
Yes.
Councilman McCray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Councilman Barry Good.
I guess I should unmute, right? Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
That's unanimous, Council President.
Okay, I now declare Barry Good as City Council Vice President. Mr. Clerk, will you please administer the oath of office to Vice President Good?
Gladly. Mr. Good, if you would, please raise your right hand, place your left hand on the Bible. When I say I, state your name and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Barry N. Good Sr.,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
justly perform
all
of the duties of Vice President for the Plainfield City Council
the duties of the Vice President of the City Council of Plainfield, New Jersey,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established
to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Vice President Good.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move to the selection of councilperson to fill the 4th Ward vacancy.
Council President, I'd like to nominate Ms. Stacy Welsh as the candidate to fill the 4th Ward council seat.
I'll second that nomination. Are there any more nominations? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, please have a roll call on the nomination of Stacy Welch to serve as 2021 4th Ward councilperson.
Council President, this is a roll call on the nomination of Stacy Welch to serve as 2021 4th Ward councilperson. Council members Davis,
Yes.
Kenna,
Yes.
McCray,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President Good,
Yes.
President Hockaday.
Yes.
That is unanimous, Council President.
Okay. So I don't see.
I believe the 3 nominees are on the meeting as attendee mode. So if IT would promote Stacy Welsh, and at this point we need to administer the oath of office. If you would enable your video as well. Alika, are you able to enable her audio and video?
I have sent a request to ask her to unmute or also to activate her. There were 2 Stacy Welshes. Is it possible that? Miss Welsh, can you speak?
Yes.
All right.
Council President, is it okay if I proceed with the oath of office?
Yes, please proceed.
Mrs. Welsh, if you would, please place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. When I say I, please state your name and repeat after me. I state your name.
Stacy Welch,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly affirm
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of
all the duties of
Councilwoman, 4th Ward, City of Plainfield,
Councilwoman 4th Ward, City of Plainfield,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
of the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Councilwoman Stacy Welch.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we now have a video from Senator Cory Booker. IT, could you run the video, please? It's good, right?
Hi, it's United States Senator Cory Booker. I'm so excited and grateful to be able to share some words with you as folks get sworn in and have a reorganization. And in many ways, after the year we've had, more than ever, we recognize the grand importance of New Jersey's local leaders. I was a city council person, I was a local mayor, and I understand that when there is a crisis, like I saw in the Great Recession and in Hurricane Sandy, the people that make a difference are New Jersey's local leaders, standing strong in the breach, in the storm, making sure that we stay Jersey strong. Our resiliency, our power amidst the pain of years like we just had, are what defines us. We're not defined by what happens to us, but we are defined by how we rise up together and deal with those challenges. Now more than ever in our history, it's leaders like you and those who support you that are critically needed as we go forward into 2021. May God bless you in your commitment to country, to our state, to your community. God bless you in your service to others. I believe that together we will not only cast away the darkness of last year, but bring so much more light into the lives of New Jerseyans. Thank you so much. God bless you, and God bless our nation.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, you have the enviable position of following Senator Cory Booker. You're on mute.
Well, thank you, Council President, and congratulations to you, to Vice President Good, as well as to Councilor from the 3rd Ward, Charles McCray. As you know, I usually present a State of the City address at the reorg meeting. I will preface my State of the City this evening with a statement about the unfortunate events that occurred in our nation's capital earlier today. With a heavy heart, I find it necessary to address the insurrection currently taking place at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. On a day when the democratic electoral process should be winding down to its constitutional end, I strongly condemn the actions of the insurrectionists. They have desecrated a structure that is a symbol of American democracy. They have endangered the lives of elected officials and have shown a blatant disregard for the sanctity of the electoral process and the building that is home to those who defend our constitutional right daily. I call upon everyone in Plainfield to remain calm and to be careful. There is no precedent for this, and we must trust that law and order will prevail while taking all precautions to stay safe. We have no reason to believe that we will see these kinds of protests here in Plainfield or elsewhere in Union County. As always, let us err on the side of caution and pray that the security forces will restore order quickly in Washington, D.C. Ultimately, we want Congress to resume counting the electoral votes so that our nation can move forward and swear in the duly elected president. Come together and begin to heal. Earlier today, I met with members of my administration with a focus on our first responders. I asked them to be on high alert for signs of any similar actions taking place within our city's jurisdiction. While I am a proponent of peaceful protests, our residents' well-being and safety is and will always be my first concern. We will continue to monitor the situation and make decisions in our communities and city's best interests. Stay safe, and may God continue to bless each and every one of you. So at this time, I will now switch gears and go into my state of the city. To Council President Hockaday and members of the governing body, members of our administration, constituents, and my dear friends, if you're listening this evening, I consider you to be a personal friend or a friend of Plainfield. It has been a very difficult year, and yes, I know that I am stating the obvious, but we had no idea when we stepped into 2020 that we would face a year of challenges, heartbreak, and loss unlike anything we can imagine in our worst nightmares. It was so difficult a year that we all wanted to sprint our way into 2021. As we approach the end of the winter of 2020, a pandemic was unleashed around the world that spread quickly and was frighteningly deadly. The virus known as COVID-19 forced us to distance from the very things that normally sustain us, such as fellowship with friends and family, social interaction to maintain bonds of friendship, and physical support for those in pain and in need. When we thought we could endure no more, the images of George Floyd being murdered in cold blood triggered a visceral response across our country. Our cities were rocked by protests, and once more the subject of race in America caused us to question a system that seemed to always work against minority communities. Despite the surreal quality that surrounded day-to-day life, we pivoted and adapted because that is at the core of our human nature. We are survivors, and the idea of sinking is not an option that we readily embrace. We adapted to a new normal to keep ourselves and loved ones safe. As a leader, my administration and I had to take rapid and decisive action to safeguard the welfare of our city. And with little direction from the federal government, local leaders across the entire nation were doing the same thing. Our spirits were buoyed in November with the election of a new president who promises hope rather than hate, and the historical election or selection of a Caribbean American Black woman to serve as vice president was an added spark that ignited the light of hope in a very dark 2020. We know with certainty that nothing lasts forever, and the optimism that has guided us for centuries give us a certainty to the words that better must come. I look to 2021 with hope and optimism. Over 4 million Americans have already received the first round of the COVID-19 vaccine, and the efforts are becoming more intensive. My friends, I do not think that we will end 2021 on the same note that we ended 2020. This past year, more people have rediscovered the power and joy of prayer. And even though we are social distance, we have pulled closer together through the might of technology. Families and friends across the world have reconnected and have drawn strength and comfort from each other. I look to 2021 with optimism because I have seen the deep-rooted power of human compassion and resiliency demonstrated this year over and over again. I have witnessed acts of selflessness and bravery, and I have felt the words, "I am my brother's keeper," echoing across America. My friends, despite the hate that has been sown with evil, divisive words, despite the legacy of separatism that has been passed from generation to generation, despite the pervasive attempts of some to maintain dominance over other ethnicities, the inherent goodness of people still shines through. Like rays of sunlight just slicing the clouds after a thunderstorm, good will always find its way. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. famously said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." It is the love of our fellow human beings, the compassion for the suffering and needy, the willingness to forgive and transcend malice. These are the things that give me hope for 2021. Heavy are the shoulders that wear the cloak of leadership, and it has not been easy piloting the ship Plainfield this past year. But we have made decisions for the good of our city and everyone who lives here. We have put economic relief programs in place that have helped to keep many businesses afloat and help residents manage their bills. As we emerge from the fog that is COVID-19, we are poised to ensure that our local economy can recover and move forward as we continue to grow. So I encourage you to be heartened. Look to 2021 with optimism and hope. Let us endeavor to keep our bonds stronger, support each other, pray for each other, and most importantly, to love one another as we love ourselves. I pray that God will put his protective cloak around all of us, and that he will light a path to lead us out of the plague that has been 2020. In spite of the challenges we face as a city in 2020, I can still report to you this evening that the state of our city remains strong. In the coming weeks and months, we will continue to advocate at the county, state, and federal levels for the resources necessary to ease the socioeconomic pain of pandemic, all the while continuing our citywide resurfacing program, transforming our recreational spaces, providing for our seniors, and expanding on our robust economic development projects to keep our city moving forward. So in the meantime, stay safe, stay well, and embrace all of the CDC protocols. Amelia and I wish all of you a very happy New Year 2021. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Okay, we will move to public comments limited to items appearing under new business.
Sorry, I don't understand.
You don't need to. resolutions and motions. Okay, a total of 30 minutes has been allocated for public comments, limited to resolutions being considered this evening. If you wish to be heard, hit the hand icon. To be recognized, you will be unmuted. Give your name and address for the record. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes. The floor is now open.
Good evening and Happy New Year. Timothy Priano of Martin Avenue. I will address these resolutions that are being considered this evening. First and foremost, we are government of the people, by the people, for the people. I wish to speak against Resolution R00121, meeting scheduled for the year 2021. I wish to speak against R002-21, authorizing executive sessions. And also, I wish to speak against R00621, guidelines governing public resolutions regarding governing public. Citizens are the center of public activity, and they are involved in clearly defined ways in public life at local level. All men and women can have a voice in decision-making, either directly or through legitimate intermediate bodies that represent their interests, such as broad participation is built on the freedoms and expressions, assembly and association. All voices, including those of the less privileged, the most vulnerable, are heard and taken into account in decisions making, including over the allocation of resources. Decisions are taken according to the will of many, while the rights of the and legitimate interests of few are respected. By silencing the people, by only having 12 meetings once a month, shuts down communication and trust with the local government. I will go forward. I will speak against Resolution R02021, resolution granting advice and counsel to appointment to serve on members on the Plainfield Planning Board. We should not be bullied at meetings. We have a voice as citizens. Ron Scott Bay has time and time again refused to hear from residents. We all want to know the facts at Planning Board. Objective rules, structures, and procedures are adapted to legitimate expectations and the needs of citizens, openness and transparency. Information on decisions, implementing of policies and results is made available to the public in such a way to enable and to effectively follow and contribute to the work. There is a broad and long-term perspective on the future of the local community, along with a sense of what is needed for such development. There is an understanding of historic, cultural, and social complexities. Common respect must be given at all times, starting from the top and all the way to the bottom. I will speak against Resolution R3721 and R3821, Reliance Insurance Group, that is being investigated by the New Jersey Attorney General's Office. Ethics conduct. The public good is a place before individuals' interest. There are effective measures to prevent and combat all forms of corruption. Charges do not exceed the cost of services provided and do not reduce demand excessive.
Council President, 3 minutes has expired.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Priano, thank you for your comments. There'll be additional time at the end of the meeting. Should you wish to finish your comments, you'll have another opportunity, perhaps. Is there anyone else in the line to speak for public comment?
No one else has their hand raised?
Okay, may I have a motion to close public comments?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second.
Any opposition or abstentions?
Aye.
That was in favor? I've heard something. Any opposition or abstentions?
I think the councilwoman was, I think she's just, her computer might be slow. I don't think she was,
Okay, that was a delayed aye.
but I believe it was Miss Ransom.
Okay. Okay, public comment is now closed. Okay, clerk, we're gonna go through these resolutions in blocks according to departments. And if any council person has questions on any of them, then they'll have an opportunity to ask on any of the blocks, and then we'll move them all together. So first, we're going to start with resolutions 1-21 through 6-21, the council resolutions. Are there any questions from council members from resolutions 1 through 6?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
So I have a couple of questions. So on resolution 1, well, it's more of a concern. So by us having one meeting a month, we receive the packets on Friday. That only gives us 3 days to read the agenda, digest the agenda, come up with questions, get information, and then make decisions. And the fact that we are the council and the governing body for a multi-million-dollar city, it's my opinion that we should have more time to consider these decisions and make these decisions. So when we have 2 meetings a month, that gives us 2 weeks to really think about what is on the agenda. It gives us 2 weeks to really talk to the department heads, listen to our constituents, and really make informed decisions. If we think about major corporations, right, the CEO of Prudential isn't making decisions in 72 hours. And if they have to make a decision in 72 hours, they have the people around them who are going to inform them, working around the clock to do that. So for us to have meetings just once a month, and then for us to get the agenda on Friday to then have a Monday meeting, I don't think it's fair to us as council members. I don't think it's fair to the residents. I just think that if we're going to go to 1 meeting a month, then we should have the agenda available to us a lot earlier than the Friday before the meeting. So do you want me to go through all my questions, or do you want me to?
It's your choice.
Okay, so then I have a question on resolution 3. So why do we pick the Star Ledger and the Courier? Is it because when we post for public meetings, it has to be in a print newspaper? Or is it just because we've always used those 2 papers?
President, I can answer that.
Sure.
Yes, by law, we have to designate an official newspaper to receive adequate notice for council meetings, for the publication of the notice of the adoption or public hearing of ordinances. And by law, we have to designate a second newspaper as well. And the newspaper has to be one that is distributed locally within the county, within the city of Plainfield. So as of right now, that is still a mandated statute that is a requirement for us to send those publications. Meeting notice.
Thank you. Because it is a statute, I mean, it is what it is. My concern with the Star Ledger and the Courier News is when it comes to, yes, they put our public meeting notices in there, they put all of our notices in there, but when it comes to reporting the news about Plainfield, I don't think it's always fair and balanced when it comes to reporting the good news and the bad news. So I think if the city is going to use vendors, we should use vendors who represent our city and represent our values. And so, I mean, since it is what it is at this point, there's nothing we could do about it, but hopefully if that statute is ever changed, we'll consider using people who want to report all the news about Plainfield and not just the bad news, or aren't quick to jump on the problematic stories. So for resolution 5, so I guess it goes back to my question about resolution 1. If we are using 1 meeting a month, how are we going to utilize consent agendas? Are we going to do what we're doing now where we're talking about it in blocks and passing it that way? because I know before consent agendas were when we had agenda fixing sessions, everything that we agreed on went to the consent agenda and then we voted that way. And then for resolution 6, this doesn't speak to public comments. It doesn't speak to the resolution we passed a couple of months ago about public comments in terms of us doing virtual meetings. So are we going to have to pass a second resolution about that, or did that one resolution cover us from now until we're back meeting in person?
President, I can answer those questions.
Yeah, your mic is a little low. I don't know if it's for everybody. Come a little closer.
Sure. With resolution 5, establishing the use of the consent agenda, how the meetings will be run is entirely up to the council president in terms of whether or not he wants to put it in a consent agenda or not. At some point, we will be getting back to normal, hopefully. So there, may be the opportunity to have meetings with consent agenda is useful, so that resolution will still be put forth for consideration. As far as resolution 621, we still have to establish some sort of rules of order for how the public has an opportunity to speak on the resolutions and ordinances being considered on the agenda. We still have to give some type of time limit for the public comments and for the general public comments as well. And to answer your question, that regulation for that the virtual meetings in terms of emergency virtual meetings, that was a requirement of the Division of Local Government Services that resolution be adopted. And we did so, and that will cover us for all time.
Thank you.
Corporation Counsel, am I correct as far as that resolution for the virtual meetings?
That is correct.
Just my input regarding the usage of the consent agenda. It would be used very sparingly, if so at all, because it's not really that compatible for monthly meetings. But to the extent that, something is where there is clear consent and no debate expected, perhaps we would use it, but it'd be something we use very sparingly. But I will work with the clerk to see if there's a way that we can give more time for meetings.
Council President, I've got a couple questions if you want to.
Let me just make sure Councilwoman Davis is done. Are you done, Councilwoman Davis?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilman McKenna.
I'm just, a little conflicted here because we had 2 lovely speeches by yourself and the mayor talking about participatory democracy and people being involved in the process, and yet we've got very conflicting resolutions here. We've got one resolution that gets rid of agenda fixing, which is a term I hate. I'd rather have it say agenda setting, but either way it gets rid of that, so there's less public involvement or opportunity to participate, especially when we're in an environment where we're on Zoom. We've never had consistently so many people in the public participate in council meetings since the pandemic. So there's no reason why we can't all log in twice a month and do our job. So I have a difficulty with that. On top of it, you then get to the consent agenda, which we've voted on last year, but the consent agenda talks about how time is limited and the council wants to have as much time to deliberate as possible. However, not so much time that we want to have 2 meetings a month and debate issues and discuss issues with the public and with each other. So then we counter that. And then we get to guidelines for public comment. And even though we're restricting it down to 1 meeting, we kept the time frame the same. And I know the council president just said he'd like to work with the clerk to come up with a way to expand that, but we all have the authority to make an amendment to expand those times. We don't need to work with the clerk. We actually write the laws here as well. So I think in general, this whole legislative body section, minus a couple of just procedural things with the Courier News. And by the way, on that point, I would suggest we start including tap into, because one of the reasons, and I think Corporation Counsel can support some of this comment. We went through this on the planning board. You know, the local public, the state statutes for noticing the public are just behind the times with respect to different forms of communication, and they're still doing newspapers that nobody's getting. So it is what it is, and we have to abide by that, but we should also be getting into the digital age. Nobody said we can't give it to other outlets either. We have to abide by the basic statutes, and then we can send it to whoever else we want in addition to it. But I just think that as a council, we need to really think about what we're doing here. We're cutting our meetings down to one because we need more time to deliberate, apparently, but we don't have so much time to deliberate that we can't block everything together and do it in big groups. And then when we get to the public comment part, we still limit that and have this whole no Q&A thing, which no other town really does. So we're just kind of all over the place, and I don't really understand what it is we're trying to achieve here. Zoom meetings are easier than public meetings. It's easier for the public to participate, and yet we're going to limit them for some unknown reason.
I'd like to hear input from any other council person if they okay. May I have a motion to approve R1 through R6?
So I move to amend R1, adding in the provision that the council receives the items for the meetings a week in advance.
Do we have a second? It was properly motioned. Do we have a second?
I think that's a clerk and corporation council thing. There might be statutory issues with respect to getting some of the detail together. I'm in favor of it, but I'm concerned it's whether it's doable.
Well, Council President, if I may, I could speak to that issue. I would strongly recommend, recommend that council not adopt the amendment as suggested by Councilwoman Davis. The process of creating the agenda is incredibly arduous. It involves many different steps and frankly begins almost immediately after the meeting tonight. We will start the agenda for next month's meeting. In that time period, we are seeking grant opportunities. We are negotiating agreements, and we're working on those items until the last minute, until we can get them in front of both the business administrator for her review and then a legal review by myself, as well as a review by the CFO to make sure that they're financially compliant. So there's a lot of initiatives that are going on by all the department heads working tirelessly to get that information to you as council members in advance of the meeting. If we truncate that period, we will have less initiatives for this council to consider at every meeting. So I would strongly recommend that we keep the process that we have. And I'm sorry, and I forgot another critical piece of this, is the clerk then has to take all this information that we compile and then present it to you in a manner in which it can be digested by the council. So being that there's so many steps involved, if we move the whole process back a week, it will impact the administration's ability to move its agenda forward. So as someone who sees it on both sides, I see all the work that goes on with all the department heads. I would strongly recommend that we keep the process as it is. But understanding that if council members have questions, they don't need to wait for meetings. They can reach out to every department head and the business administrator to answer those questions in advance of meetings, as I know many of you do. So as someone who deals with this on a practical level, I would recommend that it not be amended and kept as is.
Council President, I have a question.
Sure.
So, Mr. Mancello, is it legal to push back getting the agenda a week before the meeting?
Oh, sure, it's legal. Absolutely. I wouldn't say it's advisable. It's not advisable, but legal. Yes.
Okay, so it's legal. So my second question is, based off of what you're saying, if we pushed it back a week, we would then need to have more council meetings because we wouldn't have enough items on the agenda to begin with? I just want to understand what you're saying. So you're saying if we push it back a week, that doesn't give everybody enough time to put the necessary items on the agenda to make a council meeting. So then we would need more meetings in order to get everything done that the administration wants to get done. Is that what you're saying?
No, I would say because there are so many layers of review as required, we need our BA to review, we need our legal review. To add more meetings would not in any way help us present the best agenda for you. It might even make it more difficult and more onerous.
I hear what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, as a member of the governing body, in order to make, right, I truly believe everybody on this meeting wants to make the best decisions possible for the city of Plainfield, right? I believe we're all on the same page with that. And as a member of the governing body, I believe that in order for me to make the best decisions possible, I would need the agenda earlier, so I'm not making decisions about employees' health benefits with 72 hours to read the agenda, digest the agenda, think about what needs to happen, ask the necessary questions to then come here and make an informed agenda, right? Or to talk about the budget, which is a multi-million-dollar budget for this city, right, in 3 days, right? And I understand some council members who've been doing this for a long time, they read the agenda, they ask their questions ahead of time, and they come here ready to just simply vote, and that's it. But I think out of working for the best for not only myself as a council person, but as residents, right, to have all of this done in 72 hours and only meet as a body once a month, right, is a little much. But ultimately, what you're saying is that it is legal to do it.
Yes,
There's
I'm not
nothing illegal
in any
about
way,
it.
Councilwoman, discounting your concern. I just wanted to, I wanted the council to understand the practical effect to the administration to move it back a week. I'm not discounting your concerns at all.
But also, when we have emergency meetings, right, we get that information together very quickly to then have emergency meetings. So why is it that we can't get information quickly together to have council meetings? But this isn't even an argument for you. So, but that's fine. You said it's legal, so we're
I
good.
have a point of order for the council president or the clerk. There's Councilwoman Davis's motion is on the floor, right?
It is, and there was some discussion.
Okay.
And Mr. President, I want to add something as well.
Actually, we have a motion on the floor.
One second. Hold on. I'll control the meeting. So Ashley made a motion.
And I would like to second the motion.
Would you like to second it? You'll second it?
I'm seconding the motion, and I think that like all processes that over time that the administration can adjust and do their calendars differently to adapt to a revised delivery date.
Okay.
Mr. President, I have a comment on the motion.
Okay. It was properly motioned and second. Mayor, your input?
I must commend Councilor Davis for being able to absorb all of what she said and presented in the 72 hours that she had the agenda. I think she did a good job in the 72 hours that she's complaining about. But I also would suggest that Councilor Davis and maybe the council as a whole might want to take a poll of municipalities around the county, around the state, to see when agendas are delivered. It's usually the Friday or the day before, a couple of days before a council meeting. I must add that if you were to entertain what Councilor Davis is asking for, you would affect the ability of the administration to present the items to you that are worthy of your consideration. And if you were to do that, one of the things that you will end up doing is having what in other municipalities are known as walk-on items, because the business of the city is so critical and we have to move forward. So if you get an agenda a week in advance of the meeting, so the Monday before a Monday meeting, then there are items and business that will come up during the course of that week that you will need to consider. And so if you were to do that, what you will then end up doing is having from the administration a number of items that in other municipalities are known as walk-on items that we will ask you to consider and to add to the agenda. And those items, the public would not have had the visibility of those items if you were to do that. So I think it's a bad idea to be thinking about requesting from the administration an agenda 1 full week in advance.
President,
Council President, if I may.
Vice President Good hadn't spoken yet. He indicated he wanted to speak, so let him. Go ahead.
thank you, sir. Mr. Mancello, so you're saying that we would lose ground we would lose a week, and in that week's time, many things could be put on the agenda.
That's
So
correct.
we would not benefit at all by that week. We would lose a week.
There'd be either, as the mayor said, there'd be less items on the agenda.
Less, exactly.
Or more walk-on items, which haven't been seen by either council or the public until the night of the meeting.
So if I could just make a point,
So somewhat a lack in productivity because of that week that we sacrifice.
this
Yes,
kind of
And I don't believe we've walked anything on in quite a bit since as far back as I can remember. We've never had.
Last year. We did it
Okay.
once or twice last year.
Okay. All
With
right.
all due respect, Council President, we haven't had a lot of walk-ons, but we also have had agenda fixing and then a regular meeting. There's a week in between. So technically, we've had the agendas a week before the actual council meeting because we have them on a Friday and the agenda fixing is on Monday. The following Monday is the actual council meeting. So we have technically had these agendas a week before. We're just eliminating the first Monday meeting and having it the second Monday. That's exactly what we're doing. So to now say that the administration can't do that is kind of interesting. And if we do want to poll other municipalities, we're big in Plainfield on saying we're not Westfield, and we're not Fanwood, and we're not Dunellen, we're not anybody else. We're Plainfield, and we do things differently. Let's also poll them and see how many of them have just one meeting a month.
Council President, I don't believe the administration said that it can't be done. I believe the administration said it wouldn't be in our best interest. So let me just say that.
A week in
And
advance.
Mr. President, if I may add.
If I
think-
may,
Hold up. Go ahead, Councilwoman Davis.
thank you. While I appreciate the mayor's compliment about my ability to absorb information in 72 hours, I am, one, not complaining, but considering other alternatives. And two, to Councilman McKenna's point, when we look at those other municipalities who put out their agenda on Friday for their meetings on Monday, they also have more than one meeting a month.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mayor.
I think the point that was made by Mr. McKenna, Councilman McKenna and Councilor Davis, I think it's moot because you would still have the same 72 hours to review the agenda.
No, you wouldn't.
The same 72 hours. There's no difference.
No,
So
you
that point is moot.
All right. I don't
So
want
I want to clarify, because I think the motion was clear, but maybe it wasn't. So the motion that's on the floor now is that we receive the items a week before the meeting. So we're not going to have the same 72 hours. We have 1 week before the meeting to receive the agenda before the meeting.
And 72 hours to review it.
No.
If I receive the agenda on Monday and the meeting is the next Monday, I have from that Monday until the next Monday to review it. Unless I choose personally to take 72 hours to do it. But I mean, it's semantics.
Yeah.
Council President, I move to call the vote.
Okay, it was motioned and properly seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call? You're on mute.
Roll call on the motion. Council members Davis,
Yes.
Kenna,
Yes.
McCray,
No.
Mills Ransom, Councilwoman Mills Ransom,
No.
Councilwoman Welch,
Yes.
Vice President Good,
No.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
That is 4 in favor and 3 opposed. The amendment has been included in the resolution. Now the resolution would have to be adopted as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Council President, are you moving these all as a block, or are you just
Yeah, let's move them all as a block.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
This is a roll call on resolution 121 through 621. Council members Davis,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Cray,
Exception to 00121, yes for all the others, no for 00121.
noted. Councilwoman Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Councilwoman Welch,
Yes.
Vice President Good,
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
Council President 121 through 621 have been adopted.
Okay, are there any questions on R 721 through R 32-21?
Yes.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Davis.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me make sure I'm at the right spot. What number are we at?
7 through 32.
Through.
Any of
Okay. Yes. So I have a question on resolution 20-21. Now that we have Councilwoman Welch here, congratulations, by the way, how does that change the appointments to the planning board?
Unless she is the liaison from the council, which I'll nominate her. Two birds.
I believe, Council President.
Council President, I can speak to that if necessary. Oh,
Yeah.
Mr. Clerk, you have that one? Okay.
Councilor, please.
Go ahead, Corporation Council, you got it.
Well, in light of the fact that Councilwoman Welch has been appointed to the city council, I would recommend that 2021 be amended to remove her name, and the mayor may make an appointment for advice and consent at the next council meeting. That is my recommendation.
You would need a motion to accomplish that?
Yes.
So is the council making the motion for that recommendation?
Yes, because it would, as a matter of law, you could not vote on 2021 as it's currently constructed. Therefore, in order to vote on the remaining names, I recommend that it be amended prior to consideration.
Amended to remove her name?
Correct.
Okay. I'll entertain that, make that motion to remove her name from the list of planning board representatives. You have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, that motion carries. She's now removed from consideration. All right, any other questions regarding 7 through 32?
Yes.
Go right ahead, Councilman.
So for the benefit of the public, we see a lot of appointments to boards and commissions tonight. If someone from the administration can just try to explain the process if members of the public wanted to participate and be on a board and commission. While we have some new names, we also have some reappointments. I know I've gotten calls from citizens asking how they can be involved in boards and commissions within the city. So if someone can explain that process and what it takes to get to this point where we are today.
Council President, I can answer that.
Please.
On our website, there is a link to agencies, boards, and commissions. On that, there is a directory of every single board and commission within the city of Plainfield. There's also a list of the current membership, in addition to the makeup of that board, what the board does, and what the roles and responsibilities of the boards are. It also should indicate the vacancies and the terms that are up for each of the respective boards or commissions, at which point an application is filled out. The application is submitted to the clerk's office. Depending on the type of board, in terms of the who makes that nomination, whether it be the city council or the mayor, it would be forwarded to the mayor's office or to the city council, to the city council president, and the consideration would be given for that person to serve on that board and commission.
Council President,
Yes, Councilman.
I'd just like to ask the clerk, how often is that, are those names uploaded? Or is that something that's done daily, weekly, monthly?
When the a resolution is adopted appointing somebody to a board or commission, the site that we have will then be reflective of that new appointment, in which case a member of the public will be able to see where the vacancies lie. It has been delayed due to the lack of staff and being able to get that up to date, but we plan to have that corrected promptly this year to reflect the correct terms and oaths of and terms of membership for 2021 going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
You're welcome.
Is Councilwoman Davis, or I'm sorry, Councilman Good and Davis are both done? Because I have questions or comments.
Go right ahead, Councilman McKenna.
Just a couple of things here. You know, every year we go through and nominate or appoint or approve the appointment of judges and prosecutors and public defenders. And I think probably, other than a few exceptions here and there, none of us would know most of these individuals if we tripped over them, nor if they show up to work or do a good job or are good public defenders or good prosecutors or good judges. So not casting aspersions on any of them, because as I said, I don't know. I think this process is a little odd because they're throwing a name out. And if one of these judges is, or prosecutors or public defenders is charged with something next week and a reporter asked me why I would vote for them, my answer would be, I don't know, there are names on a list. So I think it's odd that we don't measure them, that we don't have a report based on their performance. They are repeat, they are being renewed. We should understand the job they're doing. There's a lot of situations with judges and municipal judges and prosecutors and public defenders where there's some funny business going on and they're not doing their jobs. And again, nothing to do with these individuals, because again, I wouldn't know them if I tripped over them. And I think we need to be a little bit more aware of how we're spending our money and how the public is being served by prosecutors, judges, and public defenders. I would also like to say that for our 1921, I'm fully in favor of that with and much appreciate the renomination of Jim Spear to the zoning board. I think he's a great voice on that committee. For R20, I'm also in favor, worked with Ron Scott Bay and Mr. Elamine on there. I will say that recently there's been a lot of conversation. I've had a lot of people mention to me the lack of the public to have their time to speak as is allotted, much like it is with the council, and that the chairman of the planning board has been rude and dismissive and cutting them off, including former council people and HPC members who are call in and participate in these meetings. And so I would just urge that the administration work with all of the board chair people so that they understand that the public has a right to speak, because they're paying all of our bills and they have a right to speak. And if there's a 30-minute timeline and they each get 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 10 minutes, they get that 3 or 4 or 10 minutes without being interrupted. And I think that, there's even some videos that were reported showing this. And I think it's out of line and disrespectful. And I think we need to make sure that as we renominate these individuals to all these committees, they understand that they're serving the public and they need to treat the public with respect. So those are my, oh, and then I have one question for Director West regarding R2921, which is submitting the documentation to rejoin the state health benefits plan. Can you clarify for me, Mr. West, is that the plan that we were going to join a year ago, December, November for, I think, fiscal year 2020, but then in January we had to tweak it because of the, I always get the name wrong, the card, the
difference card.
difference card. Is that the same scenario that we had a year ago-ish?
It is not the same scenario. There will be no difference card.
Okay, so we're doing what we meant to do before, but because of the difference card not being allowed by the state, we're just eliminating the difference card.
That is correct.
Okay. And is the savings as pretty as it was a year ago, November, when that was voted on?
The answer to that is no, and this really isn't my legislative item, but I will, since you've reached out to me, I will speak, and hopefully, Abby will come in and fill in anything that I may have left out. But there is some savings. What we have to tell you is that we had an increase in excess of $2 million, for health benefits for this upcoming year. So we've been looking for alternatives to lower that increase. So we expect to be, relatively neutral in terms of the 21 budget being about equal or slightly less than the 20 budget, when all is said and done.
So that's a
win for us when you look at the fact that we were dealing with a $2 million plus increase.
So it's a $2 million cost avoidance then.
That's correct.
Abby, you want to speak to that a little more?
Just a procedural thing to apply to be in it. This isn't there will be another vote, I'm assuming, next month on the allocation of the funds for that, the expenditure, right? Or the month after?
All right, well, you've got other items here that will cover some of the other expenditures, but no, once we're into the state, there'll be no coming back with regard, the resolution talks about what it's going to cost, this evening. And once we go to the state, those numbers will be those numbers. This is not the same as signing a contract with Aetna or Prudential or Cigna.
So there won't be a change in it okay.
Abby, you want to speak to that at all in terms of the cost avoidance?
Yeah, I'll just say, reiterate what Ron said about, we were hit with over $2 million increase from Aetna and the difference card. It was a 20% increase from Aetna and 3% from the difference card. And the way that would trickle down, I mean, obviously the city budget would be increased in that amount, and the employees would feel it in a 23% increase to their pocket regarding their Chapter 78 contributions. So Director West and I kind of looked at every available option. There were not that many that were presented to us because many of the vendors declined to bid on us. So it was kind of the state or the 23% increase. And we were able to successfully negotiate with the unions and get them to agree to a plan, a different plan than we were going to go to last year. Last year, we were going to go to the 2030 plan. And we've negotiated to go to the 15 plan, which is why the cost avoidance is a little bit less than it was in the previous year. And we're looking forward to moving on to the state finally a year later and having some stability in our healthcare numbers.
Thank you. Any other questions from council members? All right, hearing and seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to move R7-21 through R32-21 with
So move.
With the motion as modified.
Moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
Yes.
Okay, did you want
I have exceptions to the block.
okay, to the entire block, okay. Clerk, can I have a roll call?
Council, if I understand correctly, Councilman, you're objecting to the entire block?
No, I have exceptions to some of the block.
Okay, so what are we doing the roll call on? Which one?
Mr. Clerk, I believe that if Councilman McKenna has objections, he can just note those.
I'm just going to give you I could just say yes with the exception of R7-21 to R14-21. Does that work?
That would work, yes.
Yeah. So there you go.
The record, all council members voted in the affirmative for 721 through 3221, with Councilman McKenna voting no on 7 through 14. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct. Are there any other no's from other council members, just to be clear? Okay, that's correct. Okay, are there any questions on resolutions 33-2021?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Mr. Corporation Counsel, are these the usual firms that we use, or have we added any new firms to this list?
This list, Councilwoman Davis, is a list pursuant to a request for qualifications that was published in December. We solicited for firms under the categories set forth in the resolution. I have not checked this list against the list that was received last year. However, I will advise you that everyone who submitted met the qualifications to be pre-qualified. Now, as I may have mentioned in years past, none of these firms are now under contract. That would be done at a subsequent meeting. But pursuant to the fair and open process, all of these firms have now been pre-qualified and may be brought forward for a contract at a subsequent meeting. But I can assure you that not all those firms on the list will receive a contract.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt. Motion to approve.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 We should be polite.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, this resolution is approved. Now, I'll take any questions on resolutions 34-21 to 41-21. Any questions on any of those motions? It's the Finance Department. Motions. I see Councilman McKenna.
I do. I have R38-21. We're entering into an agreement with this firm again. One, did we go out to bid? And two, is this not a firm that's under investigation that the city served with a subpoena for documentation of?
I do not know that the firm is under investigation, but this is a process where we did go out to bid for risk management consultants for insurance services. And as part of being a member of the Public Employees Joint Insurance Fund, we must have a consultant in place. And so the 6% fee that they get is paid by the PGIF. And it happened to be one of the lower ones as to compared to what some of the others proposed.
So they were the lowest bidder?
They were, yes.
Can I have our council chime in on that?
Absolutely. Just for everyone to understand, we have no indication whatsoever that this risk manager is under investigation for anything. We did receive a subpoena for documents regarding risk management services or insurance broker services in August, so roughly 6 months ago. There has been no follow-up since then, no request for documents whatsoever, and we have no knowledge that there is anything ongoing. We comply with that subpoena, provided documents to the state, and have heard nothing. So I just wanted, just so everyone understands what has transpired to date.
Okay. Any other questions from council members?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
For R040-21, with the temporary budget appropriations. So in this resolution, it seems like most departments and divisions are only receiving about 26% of their budget. However, for audit and control, economic development, engineering, they're receiving close to 50 or over 50% of their budget in operating expenses. For appropriations, can you just kind of speak to why those three are receiving that much in appropriations?
Yes, we try to recognize, the needs of each of the departments or divisions when we bring forward this temporary budget, so that they can enter into the contracts they need to get the business of the city done. So, you were told the same thing last year with regard to legal. So that's so that legal can enter into contracts. Economic development's got a number of activities going on and will need to have in place, the consultants and lawyers that it uses with regard to the arrangements that they're in the midst of negotiating. And so that's really all about allowing people to be able to go ahead and enter into contracts, and it's based on what we think is going to happen between now and the end of March. So that's why you're seeing, those percentages higher than the others. They've got needs to bring people on or enter into contracts in the first quarter.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council members? Hearing and seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Those resolutions are approved. Okay, we'll move now to any questions on resolutions 42 and 43 from the Department of Public Works. Any questions from council members? Hearing and seeing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Hearing and seeing none, this resolution is approved. Okay, I think that was the last one. All right, we now move to general public comments. A total of 60 minutes has been allocated for all public comments. If you wish to be heard, please hit the hand icon to be recognized. You'll be unmuted. Give your name and address for the record. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes. The floor is now open.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nicole Mingo Horton, 1366 St. Nicholas Boulevard. I want to first congratulate our council members that have been reelected. And I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate our newest council person, Ms. Stacy Welsh. She and I have known each other for many, many years, and I'm excited to see her on the board, and I know that she will do an excellent job. And I'm excited. This is a new year, 2021, and I'm hoping to see the board and the city of Plainfield do great things. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hello, Timothy Priano again, 1405 Martine Avenue. I was going to finish my statement in regard to ethical conduct. Prudence is observed in financial management, including in the contracting and use of loans, in estimation of resources, revenues, and reserves, and is exceptional reserves. All decision makers, collectively and individually, should take responsibility for their decisions. Decisions are reported on, explained, and can be sanctioned. All with the approval of these vendors. A simple cross-check on ELIC, we can always see who are the favored vendors that we give to the city by the donations to the campaigns in this town. We must stop pay for play inside Plainfield. We've lived 4 years with President, and we all see what his buddies get with special treatment from favors they curry from him. Also, as I said before, it starts from the top with respect to residents and fellow members of the council. And when the top sneers, when people are rude to each other, it's unnecessary. I know my First Amendment rights, and I'm allowed to say what I say with respect. Also, I would like to know what is happening with the Bierstadts. How much money is the city spending on the appellate court to try and steal the paintings that don't belong to the administration, but belong to the people of Plainfield? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, Casey, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Sam Sakitha Cooper here,
Oh.
90 Brokaw Boulevard, Plainfield. I want to say congratulations to all of you who have been reappointed, and a special congratulations to Stacy Welch. I would just like to reiterate, I spoke about this previously, and I am hoping that we can revisit this. If we could make a brief statement prior to the commencement of each video call, simply to give an introduction or guideline for how the proceedings will flow. This can be pre-recorded, maybe a 2 to 3 minute explanation perhaps, so that the members of the community would know what's going on and what to expect, since this is a new platform for all of us. And not everybody is Zoom savvy or even computer savvy. Additionally, it would be advantageous that when residents speak about concerns that the respective participants hear back from the associated department heads. This would foster a good relationship with your constituents and perhaps cut down on some of the negativity that flows into social media. I would also suggest adding a calendar invite on Facebook in order to have a third-party reminder to those that are members of the city's Facebook group. I'm wishing you all the best, and I'm continuing to pray for everyone's great health and well-being. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cooper. You know, and last year in the past, I mean, we have had some questions answered. And I'm definitely a fan of directors being able to respond to concerns and questions from our residents. I think that is a good practice. So I agree with you regarding that. You know, there are instances where there may not be an answer immediately available, but to the extent that we can simply respond to a resident's concern when we have the information, I think that should be done. Is there anyone else in public comment?
No one else with their hand raised.
Okay, may I have a motion to close public comment?
Moved.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions?
None.
Okay, then public comment is now closed. Is there any questions that directors have that, any burning questions that needed to be answered from anything that they heard tonight? I can't remember anything specific, but we give the opportunity now if there's something that needs to be answered. Okay, and I'll have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, and seconded. Second,
Second.
second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition or abstentions? Hearing none. First meeting of the, our first meeting is over. Happy New Year, everybody. Take care.
Be safe.